Friday. What's up, everybody? Hope you are doing well. Hey, anybody got any interesting plans out there? Throw it up there on the chat. I'd be curious to see what everybody's up to this upcoming weekend. So today in our area, we've had, like, in the Philadelphia area, it's either been snow, rain, or cloudy. Like, just we haven't seen the sun, it feels like, in a while, man.
It's been cloudy where I am too.
Mm-hmm.
It's been really cloudy where I am too. Like really cloudy.
It's gonna get a little warmer today, which is nice. I think we might get in the 60s today, which is great. I mean, basically all the snow's been melted away, and tomorrow's going to be in the 50s, and then it'll go back to, late January weather on Sunday. But I'm gonna try and get out, get some air today, man. Once we get done. So,
I was gonna ask you, what do you got planned for the weekend?
I got to work tomorrow. I'm off Sunday, so I think wife and I'll do something Sunday, like morning, early afternoon, kind of chill. And then watch the games, man. That's my game plan. I'm looking at, the more and more, if I don't have to do a ton on the weekends, I'm not looking to do a ton on the weekends. I got to tell you. So that's kind of where I'm at. Sounds old, but it's true.
You know what's so funny? It's funny you say that, right? I feel like men, we're so comfortable just hanging out. We're so comfortable just hanging out, chilling, taking it easy.
Too comfortable hanging out.
And then sometimes, sometimes our ladies, our wives, respectively, they get burnt out by our chill gene. Our ability to just lounge around in nothing but sweatpants and some moccasins, some slippers, and just eat Cheetos, or whatever it is.
Deep into chill mode. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I can get deep into chill mode, and my wife would be like, "Yo, can we do something stimulating?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, you plan it."
Yes, same.
But man, it's funny. But yeah, this weekend's going to be a chill one for me as well.
All right, so let's pick it up where we were. If you're just jumping on with us, we're going through the 5 biggest questions, in our opinion, to going into to this season. So they are. Yes, Brian, I'm on WIP tomorrow, 3 to 6. If you want to hop on, appreciate you asking. All right, here we go. So number 3, how quickly can this defense be fixed? To say it really fell off is an understatement, and I'm being kind here. They fell off in a massive way. They were awful against the pass. They were awful with points allowed. Over the last 8 weeks, they were terrible against the run. They didn't take the ball away. They couldn't get off the field on 3rd down. Other than that, they were great. No, but there was a lot. There was a lot that went wrong, man. And that's the side of the ball where you really look at it. You say, if we're being real with ourselves, there's not enough talent. Now, the Eagles have $28 million in salary cap. There's a lot of decisions they have to make on who stays and who goes, which we'll actually get into in a little bit. And they're obviously bringing in new people here to try to get the most out of this lineup, starting with Vic Fangio. If you didn't hear, they're going to interview Joe Barry to be potentially one of the linebackers coaches or a defensive assistant. So they're bringing in new faces. They're trying to be proactive and change this thing up. But Tone, the question is, and this is a loose term, can this defense be fixed in your estimation in a rather quick manner?
Oh man, they have so many things to do. They need linebackers. They need corners. They need a safety. They need some edge guys. They need more depth at DT. They need everything. They need everything.
Mm-hmm.
Can you fix everything in one off season? No. But what you can do is, if you draft well and you make the right free agent pickups, you can get this defense from being bottom of the barrel to at least being middle to upper, middle to upper tier of the barrel.
Yeah.
I'm not asking for this defense to be top 5. I mean, would it help? Obviously, I don't top 5 defense. You go do a lot with that, but be top 10. Be a defense that that's respectable, that can get stops, that can get to the quarterback. Just can you be matter of fact? I'll put it this way, because 14 teams get into the playoffs every year. Can you be a top 12 defense? Can your defense be good can you have a playoff level defense? I'm not saying all world. I'm not saying generational. Can you create a playoff level defense in one off season? I think it's possible. I do think it's possible. But you have to make the right moves, and you're kind of trying to shoot a dart through a keyhole, but it's possible. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can't expect everybody to hit on every move they make, but can they move from being the worst defense in the league to being maybe ranked 15th or 14th in one off season. I think that's possible.
I do too. And I think that if you can get there, if you get your defense to be, in terms of points allowed, kind of middling, if you can be a better team at taking the ball away, get some of your swagger back in terms of getting to the quarterback. You can make up for some shortcomings on the back end. Let's be real. You're not fixing everything in one off season.
Right.
So you have some issues at linebacker. You're going to have some issues in your secondary. You just are. But if you can be good in those, or solid, I'll say solid. Good is probably a stretch. If you can be solid in those other areas, the offense is good enough.
Yeah, the word I like is competent. Can you be competent?
If you're there, and it's not always your offense has to go 75 yards, because guess what? You got an interception, and it's a novel concept, and your offense takes over on a short field and they punch it right in. Makes everybody's life a lot easier.
Absolutely.
So I think they can. The schedule isn't quite as daunting also, which should help a little bit. So that'll help. But I think that if the biggest thing for me with this defense is, one, pressure back on the quarterback, two, linebackers to make some plays, just make some plays. And here's what I hope. Your young guys, Keely Ringo, Eli Ricks, eventually when Sidney Brown gets back, are just going to be so much better from the time that they got last year, that you're going to start to see that these guys can play and be replacements for the older guys. I think they have to figure out a way to let Bradbury go, and whatever cap hit you got to take, you got to take. Hope Slay plays. I'd be okay if Slay plays at the same level this year that he played last year. I'd be fine with that. As far as the rest of the secondary goes, maybe Blankenship fits into the same category because it was only his first year as a starter, in fairness. But the guy next to him can't be Kevin Byard. It's got to be somebody better than that. So a lot to do here, man. This is not – Vic Fangio takes over a really challenging situation. Make no mistake about it.
Absolutely. And another thing we're going to find out is, how much can he get out of, these young guys? I think one thing that I am concerned about, I am curious to know how he utilizes Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter, especially, if he's going to have those guys, one technique, 2-eye, 3-tech. How is he going to utilize those guys on the line of scrimmage? I just want everybody to be put in the best possible position to succeed, so you can at least say, you know what, we put everybody where they needed to be. Now it's on them.
Yeah,
that's what I want, right? I don't want to be in a situation where I'm saying, oh, I feel like these coaches are holding these guys back. I want to be in a situation where I say, hey, you know what, coach put you there. You got to make the play. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do. I know exactly what you're saying.
And I think that was the conundrum last season. We were constantly going back and forth. Things were so bad last season. We were saying to ourselves, well, the coach got to do this. No, well, those guys got to make the play. It was just so bad. You couldn't even pinpoint the real culprit. We're going to find out. We're going to find out if this defense, again, can go from being the worst to just being okay. You know what, Rob? You know what I want? If you can give me a top 6 run defense and a top 12 pass defense, I'm cool with everything else. I'm cool.
I agree.
Because your offense is going to be so good, hopefully. Your offense is so talented, that should be enough for them to do their job and get leads and take advantage of the opponent. A top 6, top 5 run defense, top 12 pass defense. That should be good enough. It should be good enough.
Yeah. Yep. All right. Let's move on then to question number 4. I'll pose this to you. What is your faith level in Howie Roseman this offseason being able to make critical moves? And when I say moves, I'm incorporating the draft, free agency, trades to get the roster where it needs to be to do the things that we're talking about here. I'm mainly talking about defense, but you also have to make a decision on Swift and some other areas on the offensive side. But just general faith level in Howie, because Howie tends to be crazy good or a pretty decent drop off. I think last offseason draft wasn't terrible, but he really whiffed in terms of like free agents and whatnot. Are you feeling that the typical Howie sort of uptick here?
Because the defense is the main issue right now, I do have my concerns because Howie Roseman historically is not the strongest evaluator in general, right? He's not. That's not his forte, especially on the defensive side. He's whiffed on corners, whiffed on linebackers, he's whiffed on edge rushers. You know, his best edge rusher that he drafted is Josh Sweat. Like, well, who was the one guy we drafted? What was it? His name Marcus Smith? Is that his name?
Oh God, yeah, the
That was
defensive end. Wolf.
yeah. So it's just like Howie Roseman has so much to do, but it all falls into areas that are not his strengths. I think he's going to have to lean on Vic Fangio a lot, you know, in this upcoming cycle of player movement, player mobility. He's going to have to really lean on him because I just don't see Howie Roseman making all the right decisions on draft day when it comes to defense. When it comes to the trenches, he's okay. It's like he's okay in the trenches. The Eagles have always done well drafting O linemen, D tackles, except for Broderick Brunkley. But other than that, I do have my concerns. What about you though? Are you concerned?
Yeah, I am concerned. I have faith that he can get it back.
Okay.
I do because he's dangerous when he's got a lot of draft picks and he's got some cap money. So I don't think it's out of the question that there's trades made. I think he has a good feel for other teams' needs, what teams are up against the cap wise that he can exploit.
Yes. He's a hell of a deal maker.
He's a shark. Yeah.
He's a hell of a deal maker.
And I mean that in the most complimentary way. Like he has senses, man. He's got his spidey senses and he knows, all right, Jacksonville's got it. I want to pounce on this guy, whatever. So I think he also, despite what he said, knows that he has to be better at linebacker. So I think he's going to make it a point of emphasis either in free agency or trying to make a trade. Always look to guys, to players who there's going to be a new coaching staff in a lot of ways. Look at those or previous organizations to maybe look for, Howie to bring people in, like somebody in Miami who may be either too expensive for Miami to keep or he's unhappy there. Maybe they make a move there. I do. I think that he's going to really emphasize in the draft the secondary, another edge guy, because one way or the other, you're probably going to be without either Sweat or Reddick in 2 years. Brandon Graham's, I don't know if he's even going to be back this year. So he's always going to keep going after edge guys. So I think edge and corner are going to be the two priorities. And then it'll be linebacker and safety on the defensive side. So, I do actually. I think he'll be he's usually good when he gets humbled a little bit. And watching those two sit up there 2 days ago, you saw two kids who got yelled at by their parents, I mean, you did.
Yeah, I see. Yeah. Howie, his strength has always been deal making, contracts and pro personnel. That's his strength.
Yep.
We've seen it. The draft is where we always kind of like, he's hit or miss.
Yeah.
Like there's certain picks that he's made that I'm like, okay, that didn't require any thought. Like Devontae Smith, that didn't require any thought. He was ready for the league. Now, I will say this though, at that time, there were plenty of people who said, can he hold up in the league? You drafted him top 10. I don't know about this kid. People had their doubts about Devontae Smith, so it's not like he came in with no doubts. When it came to his skill set and the professionalism, you knew he was ready. Mm-hmm. But people doubted his physical capabilities, and he's been an Iron Man, missed his first game in 3 seasons, and that was the last game of the year. Mm-hmm. I think he can get it right, but also what happens when you get into the weeds and it's like the path isn't so clear? Can you evaluate a guy? Can you find a diamond in the rough? I'm 50-50, Rob. I'm 50-50. Like I do give him credit. You found Landon Dickerson. That was a nice pickup. 2nd round guy out of Alabama. He fell because of injuries. Mm-hmm. He's been pretty available for you for the most part. So that was a slam dunk. He's been a Pro Bowler 2 years out of his 3 seasons in the NFL. I like that as a slam dunk. Jordan Mailata, obviously, slam dunk. He was a project. Things could have went wrong building that project, but he managed to pull through. You found a diamond in the rough. Milton Williams, I think they drafted him in the 4th round. Nice pickup. I like that. So there are guys sprinkled in. Don't get it twisted. But I guess for me, when I think about the Eagles' biggest needs, linebacker, corner, those aren't his strengths, man. And that makes me nervous as hell.
Well, what I also worry about is the guys that he's lost over the years. I worry about them. That Joe Douglas and Andy Weidl aren't in the building anymore. And the guys who are there, ultimately, what are they? Are they of the caliber of the previous crew? That's a concern of mine too, because Howie has to lean on them. Howie's dealing with the day-to-day here during the football season. He's not, he does scout occasionally, don't get me wrong, but he's not living on the road watching, Stanford or in watching West Virginia play. He can't be available to do that. So you have to go with your guys who have boots on the ground. And I'm hoping that the people that they brought in to replace those really accomplished people here are good enough. That's part of this thing.
But one of the biggest issues was the fact that he didn't listen to those people. That was one of the issues back in the day.
That was one of the knocks before he was sent away.
Right. His people were like Justin Jefferson. He was like, nah, Jalen Reagor. It's like, come on, man. So he's going to have to lean on let these people do their jobs and trust that they know what they're doing. You know what I'm saying? And then you ask your coaches, hey, what do you guys think? I don't think you got to be. He has a personality, in my opinion, that he needs his fingerprints on everything so he can say, oh, yeah, that was me. That was me. And it's like, nah, it's not the case. Listen, you're only as good as some of your parts.
Yeah.
And trust, when you employ people and put them around you, when they win, you win. Mm-hmm. Not everyone thinks like that, but if you win, I win. You know what I mean? If I win, you win. So no one's trying to step on each other's toes here. No one's trying to claim more credit than whatever it is.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of how he's problem a little bit. This offseason, he got to trust those people that know what they're talking about when it comes to football.
I'm with you. All right. So let's go to number 5 here. And this ties into what we're talking about. So will the Eagles change philosophically? More emphasis on linebacker, on safety, less on deep shots, more commitment to the run game. You can fill in whatever, issue that you have in there. Feel free. But will they look at things a little bit differently? Is it maybe a tell that Fangio's here? And we're already starting to see that, he's a guy who obviously has had good linebackers. Maybe that's a good sign for us. How do you view that? Just philosophy that they have always had their core of build from within, pay from within, pay for your edges, pay for your corners, pay for your quarterback, pay for your receivers. But other positions like running back and linebacker and safety maybe take the brunt of that.
See, the thing about the Philadelphia Eagles philosophy, in theory, they're not wrong. In theory, it's not off. But I do feel like they've had some miscues along the way. No one's above it, but I feel like theirs could have been avoidable. They're not wrong for prioritizing an edge rusher over a linebacker, right? They're not wrong for prioritizing,
yes,
O-line over a running back. You know what I'm saying? They're not wrong for doing that. I think their priorities have been pretty in order on the offensive side. The defensive side is where things have kind of been a little wonky because I feel like they've taken the linebacker position and completely tried to convince us that it doesn't matter at all. And I don't think that's the right course of action. So that's the philosophy I think, and we talked about it already. That's the philosophy that needs to be tweaked, right? I'm not even going to say change. They need to tweak that because you're not wrong in theory, but you got to invest a little bit more than what you've been investing.
Okay.
I can't think of anything else from a philosophy standpoint that I feel like needs to change dramatically. Maybe the coaching situation, but as of right now, that's going to be what it's going to be with Nick Sirianni. They clearly bucked the trend and brought in someone with major experience in Vic Fangio. Who was the last D coordinator we had in here with real experience was Jim Schwartz. Then prior to that, Jim Johnson. So they try to go young in most places. I like that they were experienced on defense. Hopefully they do the same on offense.
Yeah. I don't know how you can't have the kind of year that you had this year and not look in the mirror and realize I got to make some serious, significant changes.
When you heard that press conference, did you get a feeling or a vibe that they felt like they needed to change their process, or maybe tweak their process, or a philosophy change? As you laid it out, did you get that vibe that they felt like their philosophy needs to tweak a little bit?
Not in listening to them, to be honest with you. Not really with Howie, but actions speak louder than words. I think Fangio, even though he subscribes to the hey, don't give up the big play thing, he's a little bit different, like we talked about. So I think that part tells you something. I think the fact that they basically made Nick step away tells you that they realized they needed to change something, which lends me to believe that they'll make changes with the way that they necessarily do. I don't think they're going to get away from their core of all the positions we just talked about that they think are going to be prioritized. But I think there's a happy medium with also investing a little bit more into the positions you've ignored too much. I do think they'll do that a little bit. Howie is a guy who will learn from mistakes. And this year was embarrassing. The owner was embarrassed. Howie was embarrassed. The city was embarrassed. And Nick was embarrassed. So I think all those things. All right, let's hit it. Let's come back. We'll talk to Anthony Sanfilippo. We'll mix in some hockey, some baseball with Anthony. And then after that, we will get it back to our NFL and our Eagles stuff as well. He's Tone DeShields. I'm Rob Ellis. We're Sports Take. JAKIB Sports YouTube Network. We'll be right back. Let me tell you about Pro Action Restoration. If you have a home, look, we had some really goofy weather, right? Snow, rain, all kinds of stuff can cause a lot of problems. You get any kind of flooding. It could be water. You could have fire issues, smoke issues, mold issues, whatever. Pro Action Restoration is the place that you turn to. They're on call 24 hours, 7 days a week. They are licensed, bonded, fully insured, and they've been serving the tri-state area for more than 2 decades. Pro Action will work in conjunction with your insurance company. They did for me, and it was smooth sailing, I got to tell you. Whether it's water, fire, smoke damage, mold remediation, you name it, they can handle it. Give them a call, 610-623-3760, 610-623-3760, or online at proactionrestoration.com. That's proactionrestoration.com.